Good morning, my lovely crafty people, and here we are today with my Junk Journal July UK journal that I made, and today we're just going to do a walkthrough. So if you've been watching the videos, you'll know I started with just a spiral bound book, and it started to have a huge gator mouth, so I used the cover of the book to make a cover for this journal. This is just some board inside, and I've decorated it and covered it with some fabric, and it has book corners on it, and you can see it's quite a tome, but it feels really good to have pretty much finished a project from start to end. So I'm just going to undo this. I have to take the pin off. There you go. So this is just a little pin I've made. It's one with a bold pin, and the ribbon is held in place through a hole in the spine, and then it's got a paper clip on the other side. So here we go. So here was my title page, which I put all the prompts in and was referring to day by day. I've only done a single page, and I've left each page on the back blank, but I've stuck some line paper and got a piece of corresponding paper. So this was bees. This is a die cut I made. This frame was just out of a magazine. I stamped some ink over the top of a doily, and I made a tag. Okay. Then we had a butterfly, and I followed Elora and looked at all her little envelope tutorials she did and made some of the envelopes. Let me just pop that there. There we go, that will hold that there. And you can see each of the envelopes has a little wax seal on. It's not completely stuck down, because if I wanted to I could open them, and I've just stuck them into the belly band. And then this one with many pockets, I made a little butterfly puppet bookmark type thing, and she just lives in there. Day 3 for blooming envelope, I've used Be Happy Stationery's envelope that's on her Hail Herbology kit, and the background is just a napkin that I have with some lace, got to have some lace, and then I made a tag with a word out of a magazine, bloom, and just decorated the magazine, the envelope to match the backing. And then this was a template that I found online. I think I've linked it in the comments of the video. I'm not sure if I even made a video for that one, but I can put the template link in the comments to this video if I didn't. Day 4 was gratitude. I still haven't filled my pocket. I've still got those photos to print out of what I'm grateful for. But for this, I just used a page out of my Reader's Digest Gardener's Year, and got my watercolours out and painted in the roses, and then used that for the colour scheme. Collage fodder, I learned something new. I learned how to momigami, and I was really pleased. So I momigami'd my own gel plate prints, and then I created 2 little master boards using some of the momigami and other coordinating things, and then I just made them into little clipboards so you could add notes and things to those. Where did we go? So fold out. So this one is a little bit of a surprise. I used half circles of sheet music, and then I fold them out to reveal that beautiful picture that was from an artist catalogue that I had. Yes, stunning. And then just using some brads, fitted it together. Buttons was lots of fun. I dug out my Santori pack. You can see here I've sewn those pages together, and then I've got a gap, and then so the buttons was quite a simple page. These are just tags I cut out of card and used my tag punch to punch the top, and then I just stuck lots of buttons on with some of my obligatory paper flowers. Pockets, I was so inspired by one of the Victorian photo album things that I had, and I created this concertina of pockets, which I've just covered with ephemera and stickers and filled with some ephemera and some stickers. That's from Be Happy. That's from her Retro Revolutions kit. Just a little bit of note paper, postcard. And then this lovely thing was from a Victoriana diary that I'd managed to pick up. And I just thought that was really cute. I've still got to find a way of clipping those in because I'd made them to go in the spiral bound book. Day 9 was stamps on book pages, and this was the page that really made me stop and think about my sustainability. Lindsey talked about making your own resources, and I do have a Temu addiction. I've been really good, and I've kind of deleted the basket, and yeah. So this page, I used some of my stamps on book paper, and I went with the kind of dressmaking theme. And the background is from a 1950s make at home book. It's one of those books for kids, and this one was all about needlework, and I just thought the colours fitted really well. Paint splatter was day 10, and I used some wallpaper at the back, which I covered with gesso, whatever you call it, and then I just splattered some acrylic paint all over it, and then I made a belly band from just some corrugated card, used some of my Scrabble tiles, and then these are fronts of cards that I've received. Never a truer word. Rainbow is definitely my favourite colour. Okay. Day 11, layers on layers. I dug out my fairy book. I've got quite a few flower fairy books. Some I'm happy to harvest, some I'm not. Used some of my card toppers and lots of stickers and a napkin on the background and just layered up. And then I've actually got some flowers from my own garden glued on there. And I just PVA, stick it on, let it dry a little, and then PVA over the top, and it just seals it on. Number 12 was paper clips, and I learned how to make hidden paper clips, a really easy way, which was really good. And on each of the paper clips, I've put like a biscuit theme, time for tea, and they're all different ones. And then there's 2 slits in the page where I've glued 2 pages together that all my paper clips are sat behind. They're all paper clips. All of the detail on here is paper clips, even the little page, whatever it's called, tab. Sorry. 13 was negative space, and I knew I wanted to do a cameo type thing, and I had this picture from a magazine and it was my inspiration. So I went off to Google and I found a silhouette of a lady, and she's blowing the butterflies away, and I traced it onto the back of this paper and then cut it out with a craft knife. These are craft punches, might even be die cuts that I've used, and then I've just embellished with a bit of a die cut. These are the die cuts that I cut out, so that's the back of the card that I used, and then these are just lovely stickers I had with a bit of lace. Number 14 was cluster, and so I used my hidden paper clips and I made a cluster. I made a pocket which has a cluster on it, a little note tab which has a cluster, and then this tiny little mini journal which also has a cluster on the front, and I just used up some of my scrap papers in there. Paper bows. If you've watched the video, I completely changed this page. I kept the background the same, but I wasn't happy with the crepe paper bows. So what I did is I used washi tape. This is my favourite washi tape at the moment. And I doubled it, so I folded it back on itself and then scrunched it. And then I used it like ribbon just to make those finger bows. And then I've added what crafting means to me, because the background is taken from the craft book with words highlighted that lead to craft. So I was pleased with that page the second time round. I just wasn't happy with it with the crepe paper on. And then we've got nature, and this was a scrapbooking page that one of my very close friends, Kat, gave to me. I did some of my own stamping on book paper bees, and then I found this lovely poem, a garden song, and then inside this little mini book is some kind of week in the garden things that you might be doing in the garden this week. Okay, let's drop that down because that should work now. Then we went to paper houses, and again, this is from a magazine. This is actually from a local travel agent's brochure. I did some stamping on the line paper just to create some journal spots, and then the background is taken from a 1950s, I think it's a 1950s Idle Home book that I picked up, and I've just used bits and bobs from that, including this lovely photo, which you made into a butterfly. I love this page. I think this is probably my favourite page out of all. So Maximalist was day 19, and I found this lovely image on a clothing advert, which I printed, and she's teasing the dog. But then I thought, let's maximalise that, and I used all my stickers. I used just stickers to use up my sticker stash, and I've created a border down that and created her skirt in kind of a rainbow of stickers. I think that's my favourite page. The background is taken from that Things to Do at Home book as well. Maps, I watched a video on YouTube of how to make these really cute but simple birds. So there's simply a knot of paper, which I've used hair clips to clip them onto a belly band. The belly band is actually a tree, if you can just see it. And then inside that, I found this lovely pack of playing cards, which are maps on the back. And I've got some of these journal cards, which are quite cute as well. Again, I don't know where I've picked these things up. The playing cards I picked up from the charity shop I work in. Yeah, and then I've just followed that theme across. 22 was photos. Photos? Is it photo? Or is it postcard? 21 is postcard. I'm losing it. 21 is postcard. And I was like, that didn't fit for photos. So I've got a vintage calendar with these travel postcards on, and I just chose 3 kind of beach themed, and then I've made a pocket for them to slide into, which just flaps down, and then using some lace, and the details is from a wallpaper sample I had. Made a little fake bow using ribbon. These are some stickers I've picked up, and then I've carried over the paper bird, and this is just a hair clip out of a set I've got. Photos, 22 was photo. At that point I didn't have any vintagey photos. I have found 1 or 2, and I found a book of them. So this is from a magazine that I found, and I just thought it's quite cute, this little girl and her dog. And then I took that brown theme, and I've put doilies. This is washi tape that's lost its sticky, so I just use it as a ribbon. Another one of my stickers, and yeah, just built that page up in layers. 23 was upcycle, and any of those pages really could be upcycled. But what I did is I used some wallpaper. It's a wallpaper sample, and I created a pocket. And on that, I put a frame with a hanky that I had, that I went over the stitching with my markers. And then this is a book page that I've cut out. I've got the Marigold Fairy from the Flower Fairies garden book. It's basically a garden journal. And just some posh writing paper, just with a bit of washi tape to coordinate it. and they're in the pocket, and then carried that theme of the flowers across. Black and white I quite enjoyed. I was a little bit spooky, so I found this witch online and I printed her off, and then found these little spells for just self-love, protection, healing, health, and they all kind of apply to the journey that's led me to my arts and crafts. And then we've just got, these are post-it tabs which I've just backed onto paper, and then this lovely sticker, hexes to curse. I know someone commented that they didn't know what hex meant, but that's cool because that's all part of the learning journey, isn't it? And then still more of my stickers, and this is bottle stamps I've got, which I stamped onto some paper that I marbled using the bubble print method that we would have done in school when we were kids. Page 25 was brown paper, and I literally have wrapped the page in brown paper and made it like a parcel that you're sneaking a peek at. And then we've got brown paper packages tied up with string. These are a few of my favourite things, and that just, it's quite a simple page, but really quite effective. An old stamp that I've dug out and then just corresponded across to the other page. Small, and I went literal for this. I have been doing full deck challenge with Shanuki Art, and I thought, do you know what, let's include that a little bit in my journal. So I just took one of my small playing cards. I've got some mini ones, I've got normal size, I've got big jumbo ones as well, and just decorated it as like a mini artist trading card with good things come in small packages. I was quite pleased with that one. Labels kind of got me stuck, and I was going off on a whole tangent, and then I thought, actually I've got labels in the garden for all my lovely plants. So I found this lovely flower fairy. I've got some of my labels, and I just created a plant pot shaped pocket, and then these are plant labels that I've used a die cut and cut out some flowers to cascade, and then let your soul blossom with kindness. Tickets and tags, I went off to Be Happy and had a look at her Retro Revolution kit again, and was inspired by it and the train and the kind of steampunky thing. And I had this train decoupage kit, which I only put the background and one of the decoupages on. And then I've decorated it with lots of ephemera that I've had in kits. These are ticket stickers, which I've just stuck one to another. I've covered the page, and then I've just made some butterfly out of these people stickers. So I'm really using up what I've got. My favourite supply had to be lace, had to be buttons, had to be flowers. This is my favourite washi tape, and just book pages. I love sheet music, napkins, and then there's another one of those lovely journal cards. Just a luggage tag, just plain for writing on. And then I made a little book out of one of the journal cards and the paper out of my garden book. And then this was out of a book of photographs of when I were a lad. And yeah, there's some really cute pictures in there. I can see me using those quite a bit. Then we get to 30, which was interactive, and there was a lovely lady on the Junk Journal community chat group who posted a picture and a video of her double slide pockets, and so I was really inspired and made a double slide pocket that's interactive. I've added the opening of All Things Bright and Beautiful, one of my fairies, so this is the cornflower fairy, some of my die cuts, some stickers, and this background was actually out of a magazine. I think they're wallpaper samples. I think it was a wallpaper advert. And then last but not least, we came to reflection, and I had this image from a magazine that I wanted to use of a swan gracefully gliding through the sunset, and so I've used my watercolours to kind of create that sunset. And then this is just a wallpaper sample with some lace stuck over, and I used my stamps on some collage paper to create my reflections. So I've been provoked into thinking about my Temu addiction and learnt to use what I have, buy secondhand, make my own and craft a bit more sustainably. I put my big girl pants on and put my craft out there on YouTube. That has been huge for me. That's a big thing I've learned. And I've started watching videos on what to do and what not to do when you're setting up your YouTube channel. So I've subscribed to a chap who does really good tutorials, actually. Imperfections can be perfection. Mistakes are okay. If you remember, particularly back on the upcycle, I stuck the napkin upside down. But it worked. And I've learnt to listen and learn, taking advice and guidance of others. Lindsey from the Vintage Button and Sandra from Be Happy Stationery have just been so supportive and encouraging throughout this challenge. Lindsey definitely has provoked some thought-provoking things, and Sandra has just been so supportive and encouraging and helping me get my YouTube channel set up. And then we've just got a little paper doll butterfly at the bottom. So that is my journal, and you can see the pages were all sewn together with cotton using blanket stitch. I do one page at a time, and then they are then sewn into a bind piece which is glued down onto the actual cover. And I'm really pleased with this journal. It will sit on my shelf until I get sick of it, and then I might give it away. I don't know. I'm really pleased with one of the facts that I've started it from beginning to end, which is quite rare for me to see a project all the way through. I've got so many projects on the go, so it was really nice to actually have some guidance and some inspiration to do it. So thank you for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe, hit the bell, tell your friends, your crafty friends, and let's get my channel growing. So thank you guys, you've been amazing. I've had some really lovely comments throughout this journey. I'm looking forward to my next challenge. Thank you for watching.